A poor widow was whipped in the market. Then a cowboy called her mother. The sun hung low over Dust Spire Station, painting the dusty sky in streaks of orange and purple. The floating market hovered above the desert sands like a cluster of glowing lanterns, each platform crowded with people, merchants, and merchant stalls. Strange machines hovered silently in the air, carrying goods from one platform to another, the smell of exotic spices mixed with the metallic tang of machinery. Leora, a poor widow, moved carefully along the narrow paths between the stalls. Her stall was small but neat, with rows of colorful bottles filled with bubbling liquids. She had spent all morning preparing them, her special energy potions, brewed from desert herbs and rare minerals. Each potion was meant to give travelers a spark of energy, a moment of clarity, or even a gentle warmth in the cold desert nights. But today no one seemed to notice her stall. Leora's hands trembled slightly as she arranged the bottles. She had lived alone since her husband passed away, and selling these potions was her only way to earn enough to survive. She tried to smile at passing merchants, but most were too busy haggling or shouting about new inventions and gadgets. "Excuse me, madam, over here," called a voice. Leora turned to see a young boy waving eagerly. He pointed at one of her bottles. She walked over and showed him a small vial of a glowing blue liquid. "This will keep you awake on long travels, little one," she said softly. The boy's eyes widened. "Wow!" "Can I try it?" Leora shook her head gently. "I'm sorry, it's only for sale. But maybe you can get one soon." The boy nodded and ran back to his parents, who were busy at a nearby stall selling floating fruit baskets. Leora took a deep breath and turned back to her own stall. The market was getting louder. A crowd had gathered around the center platform where a strange mechanical bird performed tricks for coins. Leora sighed. She needed customers, but it felt impossible to get anyone's attention here. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew through the market. Dust and sand swirled around her feet. Leora's bottles shook on the wooden table. Before she could grab them, a small floating cart carrying a bundle of fruits tipped over, and one of the crates slid toward her stall. "Oh no!" Leora cried. She tried to catch it, but the crate knocked into her table. Bottles wobbled dangerously. She reached out and grabbed a few, but one slipped from her hands and rolled onto the platform edge. The crowd gasped. "Look at her. She's careless," someone shouted. "Watch out. She'll ruin everything," another voice added. Leora's cheeks burned with shame. She hadn't meant for any of this to happen. She tried to explain. "It wasn't my fault. The wind." They pointed at her, murmuring in disapproval. Some of the merchants shook their heads. A few people laughed. Leora's hands shook. Her stomach felt tight. She didn't know what to do. Her stall had been her safe place, her only source of income, and now it seemed the entire market was against her. Just then, a shadow fell across the platform. Leora looked up and saw a man standing tall and confident. He wore a long, dusty coat that shimmered with faint lines of glowing circuitry. His hat shaded his face, but a faint light from his high-tech goggles revealed sharp, kind eyes. A holstered tool glowed faintly on his hip, not a weapon, but a clever-looking device of unknown purpose. The man moved with a calm confidence that made the bustling crowd part around him. He jumped lightly onto a hovering platform next to Leora's stall and scanned the chaotic scene. "Step back, everyone," he said in a voice that was soft but carried over the noise. "Let's give her a moment." Some of the crowd muttered, but most stepped aside, curious about this stranger. Leora blinked, unsure. Who are you?" she asked quietly. The man tipped his hat slightly. "Name's Rylan. Don't worry about it. Accidents happen. Here, let me help." He reached toward the rolling bottles. With a quick flick of a small device on his wrist, a soft magnetic pulse lifted the falling bottles gently back onto the table. They settled with a delicate shimmer. The crowd gasped again, this time in awe rather than disapproval. Leora's heart raced. "Thank you. I don't know how to—" "Save your thanks," Ryland said with a small smile. "Just focus on your stall. People will come if they see you're not in trouble." He stepped back, pulling out a small, glowing orb from his coat. He rolled it along the table and it hovered above the bottles, projecting a faint holographic display. The labels on each potion glowed softly, showing their benefits in simple symbols. Curious eyes began to wander toward Leora's stall. Children pointed at the glowing bottles. Adults leaned closer. A merchant called out, "Interesting. What do these do?" Leora's lips curved into a small smile. She took a deep breath. For the first time that morning, she felt hope. Rylan watched the crowd for a moment, then looked directly at Leora. "By the way, you have a strong heart," he said quietly. "I can see it." "Thank you, I think. And one more thing." Rylan said, tilting his head, his voice lowered just enough for her to hear. "You're my mother." Leora froze. Her hands trembled. "My what?" The crowd leaned closer, curious about the whisper. Rylan tipped his hat again and smiled gently. "I'll explain. Someday. For now, just trust that you've done well." Before she could respond, Rylan stepped back, flipped a small switch on his boots, and hovered upward. The crowd gasped as he sailed above the market, performing a graceful arc before disappearing toward the station's edge. Leora stood frozen, staring after him. Her mind raced. How could he call her mother? She had no children, not anyone she knew of, and yet the warmth in his words and the kindness in his eyes made something stir deep inside her, like a faint memory she didn't remember. The crowd slowly dispersed. Some whispered about the strange cowboy. Some returned to their stalls, but Leora could not focus on anything else. She gathered her bottles and arranged them carefully, but her hands were still shaking. Finally, she sat down behind her stall, taking a deep breath. The sun had begun to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows over the market, lights from hovering lanterns reflected in her bottles, making them glow softly. She looked at the medallion she always wore around her neck, a simple trinket from her late husband, and ran her fingers over it. "What does it mean?" she whispered to herself. Could he really? A small child wandered up to her stall and pointed at a glowing green bottle. "Is this magic?" the child asked. Leora smiled faintly. "In a way, yes. It's the kind of magic that helps you feel strong." "I want some." Leora laughed softly the first time that day. She carefully handed a small bottle to the child, who ran off happily. Watching the child leave, Leora realized something. Even in chaos, there was still hope. She glanced toward the edge of the market, where Rylan had disappeared. Something inside her told her that this was only the beginning, that the mysterious cowboy and his strange words were a sign that her life was about to change forever. The sun sank lower, and the market lights glowed brighter. Leora stood, adjusting her stall. She felt a spark of courage she hadn't felt in years. Tomorrow, she would continue selling her potions, but she also knew she would search for answers. Answers about the cowboy, about the words he spoke, and about the strange feeling in her heart that had awakened the moment he called her mother. Somewhere out there, Rylan soared across the skies carrying secrets, stories, and a connection that would soon bring Leora into a world she had never imagined, a world of floating cities, glowing maps, and adventures among the stars. And for the first time in a long time, Leora felt ready. The night had fallen over Dustspire Station, but Leora could not sleep. She lay on her small cot in her tiny home, staring at the medallion she wore around her neck. Its faint glow seemed brighter tonight, almost as if it were alive. She turned it over in her hand, tracing the carved lines her husband had left years ago. Her mind kept returning to the cowboy, Rylan, and the words he had whispered, "You're my mother." The thought puzzled her endlessly. How could he say such a thing? She had never had a child? Or had she? Her mind wandered through memories she didn't remember. She shook her head. Perhaps he was jesting, but no. The way he had looked at her, so gentle, so certain, it felt like more than a trick. Leora got up and walked to her small window, looking out over the floating platforms of the market. Tiny lights hovered in the desert darkness. Somewhere out there, Rylan was flying among the stars, carrying secrets that connected to her in ways she did not yet understand. She knew one thing. She had to learn more. The next morning, she packed her supplies. She carefully arranged the bottles of her energy potions in a small case and tucked the medallion safely into her pocket. Then she stepped outside. The market was already awake, the platforms glowing under the twin suns of Arita. 9. Merchants shouted, floating carts moved along their programmed routes, and children chased each other across the narrow walkways. Leora walked toward the edge of the market, following a faint trail of light coming from her medallion. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat guiding her. She did not know where it would lead, but a quiet determination had taken root inside her. As she left the market, she noticed a faint trail in the sand below. A glowing line, almost invisible but unmistakable. She knelt to inspect it. Tiny sparkles of light seemed to hover just above the ground, forming a path that wound into the desert. Could this be him? She whispered. She started following the trail. The desert was calm, the twin suns casting long shadows on the dunes. Her heart raced with excitement and fear. The wind carried a faint metallic hum, almost like the hum of machinery far away. After walking for nearly an hour, Leora reached a small rocky ridge. The trail led into a hidden cave entrance, almost invisible to anyone not paying close attention. The glow from her medallion grew stronger as she approached. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The cave was cool and quiet. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, pulsing like tiny stars. Leora felt as though she had stepped into another world. She moved carefully, her footsteps echoing softly. Then she saw it, a holographic projection hovering above a stone pedestal. It flickered to life as she stepped closer. The projection showed a series of glowing star maps, unfamiliar constellations, and a history of strange vessels that had traveled across galaxies. Leora gasped. Her ancestors, her family had been space travelers. Her fingers brushed the pedestal, and the holographic projection changed. It showed a figure, tall, wearing a long coat and goggles, hovering above a desert market. Leora's heart skipped a beat. The figure looked exactly like Rylan. A small panel lit up, showing a name. Rylan, descendant of Leora's line. Leora sank to her knees, stunned. Descendant? How could he be her descendant? That would mean she had a child, or someone in her family line had a child. Decades ago, she struggled to understand. Then she noticed another detail. A message hidden within the projection. It glowed, faintly, almost invisible. To find the one who calls you mother, follow the stars. The key lies within the medallion. Leora's fingers tightened around the medallion. The pulsing had become stronger, guiding her forward. She knew now that Ryland's visit was no accident. He had been searching for her, or perhaps for the connection that only she could provide. She rose slowly, determination in her eyes. She needed to find him. She needed to understand. Meanwhile, far above the desert plains, Ryland soared through the skies on his solar-powered hoverbike. He moved quickly, yet carefully, avoiding the robotic lawkeepers patrolling the area. Their sensors scanned the desert below, searching for anything unusual. Ryland knew the medallion's power. It could reveal hidden pathways, unlock ancient records, and guide travelers to places forgotten by time. That was why he had sought Leora. The medallion had chosen her as the keeper of their family's legacy. He glanced down at the desert platform he had left behind. Leora was already moving, following the trail he had unknowingly left. A small smile appeared beneath his goggles. She was brave, just like her ancestors. The desert winds carried him forward, whispering secrets of the stars. Ryland knew that the path ahead would not be easy. He would need her help to unlock the full power of the medallion, and to uncover the truth about their connection. Back in the cave, Leora studied the holographic records. They showed the journeys of her ancestors, traveling between distant planets, trading knowledge, and protecting powerful secrets. She realized that the market accident had been a small part of a much larger story, a story that spanned generations and light years of space. Suddenly, a soft sound echoed through the cave. A small spherical robot hovered toward her, its eyes glowing warmly. It projected a tiny map, showing a route across the desert to a hidden outpost. The map pulsed in sync with her medallion. "Looks like I'm going on an adventure," Leora whispered, a mixture of fear and excitement in her voice. She packed her potions carefully, strapping them to her back. The medallion pulsed faster, as if encouraging her. She stepped out of the cave and into the warm desert night. The stars above seemed closer here, brighter, guiding her path. The journey was quiet at first. Leora moved carefully, using the stars to navigate. She avoided the robotic patrols, slipping past their scanners, with the help of the medallion's faint glow. She climbed dunes and crossed small canyons, each step bringing her closer to the mysterious cowboy. Hours passed. The desert stretched endlessly, but Leora's determination never wavered. Finally, in the distance, she saw a faint light hovering above the sands, a figure moving gracefully, riding a glider that shimmered in the starlight. Her heart leapt. Rylan. She ran toward him, careful not to make a sound. As she approached, he stopped and hovered, turning to face her. "You followed the trail," he said softly, his voice carrying over the desert wind. I had to," Leora replied, breathless. "I need to understand. Why did you call me mother? What does this medallion mean?" Rylan hovered closer, lowering his voice. "You are part of a legacy, Leora. A legacy of travelers who charted the stars and protected secrets that must not fall into the wrong hands. That medallion, it belongs to you, and it has chosen you to unlock its power. I am part of that legacy too, and I came to find you."
Leora's mind spun. A legacy.
The stars. Her family. It all felt overwhelming, but also right, somehow. She had always dreamed of adventure, of more than just selling potions in a small market. Now, the stars were calling her. Rylan extended a hand. Come with me. There's so much to see, so much to learn. The stars are waiting. For a moment, Leora hesitated. The desert was vast and unknown. The stars were distant and mysterious, but she felt something deep inside, a spark of courage, of hope, and a sense of belonging. She took his hand. Together, they lifted into the night sky on Ryland's glider. The desert stretched below them, glowing faintly with the lights of Dustspire Station far behind. The stars above were brighter than she had ever seen, forming constellations that seemed to guide their path. And as they soared higher, Leora realized that this was only the beginning. Her life had changed forever. The market accident, the medallion, the mysterious cowboy, they were all part of a story that spanned generations and galaxies. With Ryland by her side, she felt ready to face whatever adventures lay ahead. The stars were calling, and she was finally listening. The desert night faded behind them, and the journey toward the unknown began. The stars stretched endlessly above Leora and Ryland as they glided through the quiet night sky on his shimmering hover glider. The desert below looked like a patchwork of dark shadows and glowing sand streams. Leora held tightly to Ryland's hand, feeling the cool wind on her face and the thrill of motion that made her heart pound. This is amazing, Leora whispered. I've never seen the world like this. Ryland glanced at her, a faint smile beneath his goggles. The world is bigger than most ever imagine, and the stars, they hold secrets. Your ancestors left clues across the galaxies, and we are following them. Leora stared at the glowing medallion around her neck. It pulsed in rhythm with the glider, sending a gentle warmth through her chest. So, the medallion, it knows the way? She asked. Ryland nodded. It's more than that. It's alive in a way. It can guide, protect, and even unlock hidden knowledge. That's why I came to you. You're the only one who can use it fully. The hover glider glided smoothly across the air currents, moving faster than any normal craft Leora had seen. Below, they passed asteroid belts floating silently between the twin moons of Arita, 9. The stars above glittered like scattered jewels, each one hinting at a destination unknown. After a while, Ryland pointed toward a distant blue glow. There, that's our first stop. An old outpost, abandoned for centuries. Your ancestors used it to store information about the galaxy and their travels.
Laura leaned forward, eyes wide.
Abandoned? Isn't that dangerous? Ryland shook his head. Not dangerous, just full of puzzles. We'll need to think carefully. It's how they protected their knowledge. The glider descended toward the outpost. It was a small circular structure hovering above a rocky plateau. Faded lights flickered along its edges, and strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The air hummed softly with energy. As they landed, Leora noticed the intricate carvings along the entryway. The symbols looked like a mix of stars, planets, and lines connecting them. The medallion pulsed stronger as they stepped closer. Ryland led her inside. The outpost was empty except for a central chamber, where a large console hovered above the ground. Lights danced across the surface in sync with the medallion's glow. This is it, Ryland said. The first puzzle, said Leora stepped forward, unsure of what to do. She reached out to the console, and immediately a holographic projection appeared, a glowing map of constellations, moving in slow, deliberate patterns. A voice echoed softly, almost like a whisper. Align the stars. Unlock the path. It will help you. Trust your instincts. They were beautiful but confusing. Each star glowed in different colors, and small lines connected them, forming shapes she had never seen. Her fingers hovered above the console. I don't know if I can do this, she said, doubt creeping into her voice. You can, Ryland said firmly. You've solved problems before, even in the market. This is no different, just bigger. Taking a deep breath, Leora focused on the pulsing medallion. Slowly, she moved her hands along the console. She followed the glow of the medallion, connecting the stars in a pattern that felt right. The projection shimmered and then solidified into a glowing path. You did it, Ryland said softly. The path is open. The console shifted, revealing a hidden passage at the back of the chamber. It glowed with soft blue light, leading deeper into the outpost. Leora's heart raced. She had done it. She had unlocked her first cosmic puzzle. They moved through the passage, which curved like a spiral staircase. The walls were lined with glowing panels showing images of distant planets, ancient ships, and maps of star systems. Leora realized her ancestors had traveled far, protecting knowledge that could guide generations. Rylan stopped at a large chamber filled with floating crystals. Each crystal glowed with a soft light and hummed gently. The medallion pulsed stronger than ever. "This is the memory chamber," Rylan explained. "Each crystal holds a piece of knowledge, stories, inventions, discoveries. Your ancestors wanted someone like you to find them. But there's a test. You must connect the memories to unlock the next path." Leora approached the crystals cautiously. She touched one, and a vision appeared before her eyes. A ship gliding between stars, carrying explorers through nebulae and asteroid belts. She stepped back, amazed. Each crystal showed a different journey, a different discovery, a different choice made by her ancestors. "This is incredible," Leora whispered. "I can see everything they did, but how do I connect it?" "Use the medallion. Feel its pulse. It's not just a key, it's a guide. Let it tell you the right connections." Leora closed her eyes and concentrated. The medallion's warmth spread through her chest. Slowly, she reached out to the crystals, touching them in a sequence that felt natural. Each touch caused the visions to link, forming a glowing web of knowledge. The chamber hummed louder, and the crystal's light merged into a single path leading to another hidden doorway. Leora opened her eyes, breathless. She had done it again. Rylan stepped closer. "You're amazing. You have the touch of our ancestors." The medallion chose wisely. "I never imagined I could do something like this. I just followed it, and somehow it worked." "Exactly," Rylan said. "Sometimes you don't need to know everything. You just need to trust yourself." The doorway led them to a large observation deck, hovering high above the plateau. The twin moons of Arita. 9 shone brightly, casting silvery light across the desert. Leora leaned on the railing, feeling a mix of awe and wonder. "This is beautiful," she whispered. Rylan looked at her. "It is, and there's more to see. The stars are full of stories, and this is just the beginning. But there's something else you need to know." "What is it?" Rylan took a deep breath. "The medallion. It's not just a guide. It's also a connection to me and to our family line. I am, in a way, a part of you. That's why I called you Mother."
Leora felt her heart skip a beat. But how?
You're not human?" Rylan shook his head. "I am human, but created from our family line. Think of me as a continuation. Someone who needed guidance, someone who needed to find you. And now that I have, we can unlock the next path together." Leora's mind swirled. She had spent so long feeling alone, selling potions in a market, struggling to survive. And now she was part of a story larger than she had ever imagined, a story that spanned the stars. I think I understand," she said slowly. "You're here because of the medallion, and I need to help guide us forward." "Exactly. Together we can uncover the secrets our ancestors left behind, and maybe find new paths they never even imagined." The medallion pulsed brighter than ever, almost as if it agreed with them. Leora felt warmth, courage, and a strange joy she hadn't felt in years. For hours they worked together, connecting more crystals, unlocking hidden doors, and discovering ancient maps. Each puzzle revealed new wonders: floating gardens, tiny artificial stars, and knowledge about planets far beyond their own solar system. Through it all, Leora felt a deep connection to Rylan, not just as the mysterious cowboy who called her mother, but as a companion, a guide, and a bridge to a family she had never known. As dawn approached, the observation deck glowed in the soft light of Arita, 9's twin suns. Leora and Rylan stood side by side, gazing at the horizon. The desert below was quiet, the outpost silent, but the sky above promised endless adventure. "Tomorrow," Rylan said softly, "we follow the map to the next planet. There are more puzzles, more memories, and more discoveries waiting for us. Are you ready?" Leora smiled, feeling a strength she didn't know she had. "I am. Let's see where the stars lead." Together, they looked out at the endless sky, knowing that the journey had only just begun. The stars held countless stories, and now Leora was ready to live one of her own. The desert wind whispered around them, carrying the promise of new adventures, new puzzles, and the unbreakable bond of family, even across the vastness of space. The twin suns of Arita, 9 had risen high over the desert as Leora and Rylan prepared their glider for the next journey. The air was warm, carrying the faint scent of metallic dust and desert blooms. Leora adjusted her satchel, making sure her potions and medallion were secure. Today they would leave the familiar sands of Dustspire Station behind and follow the path the medallion had revealed, toward a planet untouched for centuries, hidden among the stars. Rylan checked the glider's controls, his fingers flying over glowing panels. The hover engines hummed softly, the gentle vibration filling the quiet morning. "Ready?" he asked. Leora took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." "Let's go." The glider lifted smoothly, floating above the desert. Dustspire Station grew smaller behind them, its market platforms twinkling in the distance like tiny stars themselves. Leora felt a strange mix of excitement and calm. She was leaving everything she had ever known, yet she felt more alive than ever. As they soared higher, the medallion pulsed warmly, guiding them toward the next destination. Rylan pointed to a distant star cluster. "There," he said. "That's our path. The medallion is leading us to a planet no one has lived on for generations. Our ancestors wanted it kept secret, for its beauty and knowledge." "A whole planet just waiting for us?" "Yes," Rylan said softly. "And when we reach it, you will see why the medallion chose you." The glider moved through asteroid belts and past glowing nebulae, each turn revealing wonders that made Leora gasp. Strange creatures floated past in the void, small jellyfish-like beings that shimmered in the starlight. Planets with rings of crystal glowed below them, and distant comets painted trails of light across the darkness. For hours they traveled in silence, letting the stars guide them. Leora watched Rylan work, adjusting the glider's course with ease, and she realized how much trust she had in him. He was her companion, her guide, and somehow the link to the family she had never known. Finally, the medallion pulsed brighter than ever. Leora looked down and saw it, a planet, glowing faintly with blues, greens, and silvers. It hovered in the void like a jewel, untouched by humans, its surface shimmering with forests, rivers, and mountains.
Leora gasped. "It's beautiful."
"Welcome to Alaris Prime, our ancestors' secret planet. It's the place they left to guide the future generations, the place you were meant to see." The glider descended gently, landing near a calm lake that reflected the twin suns. Strange plants with translucent leaves glowed softly along the shore. The air smelled fresh, clean, and alive, carrying a faint hum of energy. Leora stepped off the glider, feeling the soft ground beneath her feet. Every step seemed to vibrate in tune with the medallion. She looked around in awe, realizing that the planet was more than a place. It was a living memory, a gift from those who had come before. "This is why I came. This is why I needed you." The medallion unlocks the planet's secrets, but it responds only to you. You are the key, Leora. Leora swallowed hard. The key to what? To the knowledge our ancestors left behind, to understanding who we are, to connecting the past with the future. They walked together toward a crystalline structure in the distance, a small temple glowing with soft light. The medallion pulsed stronger as they approached. Leora felt her heart beat in rhythm with it, each pulse filling her with courage. Inside the temple, walls shimmered with moving images of her ancestors, travelers, explorers, and inventors. Leora could see their journeys, the choices they made, the lessons they learned. The images showed Rylan's lineage, too, how he had been created from their family line to continue their legacy.
"It's incredible," Leora whispered. I can
see them all. Our family, our story. And now, you are part of it, too. Together we can learn from their knowledge, protect it, and carry it forward. They spent the day exploring the temple and the surrounding planet. Leora discovered small gardens filled with glowing fruits, rivers that reflected the starlight like liquid crystal, and creatures that moved gracefully across the surface. The medallion guided her to each secret, teaching her about the plants, the energy, and the harmony of Alaris Prime. As evening approached, the twin suns of Alaris Prime began to set, casting long shadows and turning the sky a deep purple. Leora and Rylan stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the sparkling lake. The planet's beauty was overwhelming, yet peaceful. Leora turned to Rylan. I never imagined anything like this. My life, before it felt so small. But now, it feels like I have a purpose. Rylan smiled softly.
You do, and you're not alone anymore.
We have each other, and together we can discover even more. This planet is just the beginning. Leora's heart swelled with emotion. For so long, she had felt alone after her husband's passing, selling potions just to survive. Now she had found family, adventure, and a connection to something greater than herself. Rylan stepped closer. I called you mother not just because of our connection, but because you are strong, wise, and caring. You guide me, just as our ancestors guided you. Together, we will continue the journey they began. Leora smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. And I will, I promise. The medallion pulsed one last time that evening, glowing brighter than ever. Leora felt warmth spread through her chest, filling her with confidence and courage. She knew that the adventures ahead would not be easy, but with Rylan by her side, she was ready. Night fell over Alaris Prime, and the stars sparkled like countless diamonds above them. Leora and Rylan sat beside the lake, talking softly about the future, the planets they might visit, the secrets they might uncover, and the stories they would write together. In that quiet moment, Leora realized something important. She was no longer the poor widow who had struggled in a desert market. She was a traveler, an explorer, and a mother, a guide for her family's legacy across the stars. And as the twin moons rose above the horizon, casting silver light over the shimmering waters, Leora made a choice. She would continue the journey not just for herself, but for the ancestors who had come before, for the child she had never known but had found in Rylan, and for the endless possibilities that awaited them among the stars. The glider rested by the lake, its engines quiet for now, but ready for the next adventure. Leora looked at the horizon and felt a spark of excitement. There were countless planets to explore, mysteries to uncover, and stories to live. And for the first time in her life, she knew she would never be alone again. Rylan reached for her hand. Tomorrow we continue. The stars are calling, and our journey has only begun. Leora nodded, holding his hand tightly. I'm ready. Let's see where the stars lead us. And with that, the poor widow who had once struggled in a desert market became a starfarer, guided by a cowboy, connected by family, and ready to embrace a future filled with wonder, knowledge, and endless adventures. Above them, the sky shimmered with starlight, whispering of distant worlds and untold stories. Leora smiled, feeling hope, courage, and joy. The universe awaited, and she would face it with her newfound family, heart open, and spirit unbroken. The stars shone brighter that night over Alaris Prime, marking the beginning of a new horizon.